butterfly effect and Arcmap. And this is a weird title, I agree. I just wanted something that was catchy. But what it actually means, means something small, like the flapping of butterfly wings can impact larger things. I think where I found this on the internet, and basically flapping of a butterfly can cause winds in different direction. And how that applies to this, what we're talking about today, this project began with just the intent of teaching Arcmap to Alan Starling. And Alan works for an organization called Global Recording Network. And what Global Recording Network does, it provides Christian evangelistic and discipleship audio-visual materials to the least reached language groups of the world. And they want to work where there's no translated scriptures and no viable local church, or where a written scripture portion is available. But just, and maybe a case where not many people can read that. But we started just with teaching, I started the idea just teaching Arcmap to Alan Starling. And it turned out this grew. First of all, two other GIS people came up. John Guthrie, who you hear from later, really helped immensely creating an interactive map out of this. And another person who couldn't make it today, Mark Reichel. And Mark does maps for Joshua Project. If you go and look at some of the people profiles that they have there, you'll see maps he's done of people groups. And also in this project, he worked to clean up the data, update the data, and just came up with a way to show kind of the extent of languages, a little idea of that too. And yeah, what we ended up doing, what we'll talk about later, is we created an interactive map on the web. And another title you could have, John had this idea, maximizing scope creep, maybe a better title of this. Okay, who I am, I worked with a group called Global Mapping since 1986. Before that, I studied cartography at University of Wisconsin in Madison, Wisconsin. I originally worked for a few years at a regional planning agency where we finished a computerized land use mapping project. They thought they'd get it done in 1 year. We took 5 years. So sometimes that's a little creep right there. But we did get it done of 7 counties. Anyway, at GMI, Global Mapping International, I focused on helping missionaries with mapping. Could be custom mapping, and we actually designed a mapping system with Arcmap and some data. And when GMI closed in 2017, I was fortunate to still be able to help missionaries mapping with now LightSys Technology Services. And here at LightSys, we help people with computer things. It's not just mapping, but I happen to just still work with mapping mostly. Okay, now just to go over the history of this project. First of all, there was a need. Global Recording Network had several folks, most of them were part-time volunteers, 2 or 3, and they were producing paper maps with Arcmap using that mapping system that GMI had developed. Unfortunately, they all departed or weren't able to continue to help. And they left without really telling people where data was or just how to even use the software. So that created a problem. And Alan Starling, who I know a long time, just came to me and said, hey, could you teach me how to make maps like they were making? So that's how we thought we started. And we got together with this intention. But as we looked more at it, though, Alan just realized, and I realized, that maybe we can do an interactive map, something even bigger. Because nice thing about interactive map is more people could see it. It's not just internal GRN people. And anyway, it's something, could we do this? And we looked at various options. And the first thing tried was create an ArcGIS online map of Nigeria. We chose one country, and Nigeria, their GRN is working in Nigeria, and there's a lot of languages there, so it was a good place to start. And once we got an ArcGIS online map, then we used ArcGIS web app builder to create an app. And again, tweaked this a bunch of times, and it looked like it may work. But then we came to a roadblock. We discovered there's a backdoor to ArcGIS online map, that ArcGIS online map, where it's possible to download the data. And the data we were concerned about was the language point data, because it was licensed data from SIL. So anyway, thought this isn't good. But happily, John Guthrie was available, and he has much more expertise in this area than I do. So he has went and built a map with Enterprise for ArcGIS. And I think they'll take us to John. And John, I'll let you talk.
Yeah, my name's John Guthrie. I started working for U.S. Geological Survey back in 1979, doing the field work for making topographic maps. I moved into the office in '86, and by 1990, I was working in research and helping the USGS advance its digital mapping capabilities. In 2000, I was a project lead for the largest mapping project in USGS at the time. It was one of the first web mapping projects where USGS data was being displayed from, all 48 states. And since then, I retired in 2013. I wanted to make it clear that I'm working part-time, but as a contractor for USGS. That wasn't said in the bio on the web page, and USGS police get upset about those things. So, and then since then, I volunteered for both GMI and LightSys, and I traveled around the world doing short-term mission trips. I got another one coming up in Africa in August. I spend the winters here in Arizona with my wife, Margaret, and in the summers, I'm here in Colorado, again with my wife. But let's go on to the next slide. Actually, I got to put that up, don't I? Okay. So,
I have it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at my slides instead of your slides.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All.
Okay.
The system architecture is basically a standard setup for the way you would display web mapping data. So you have a database behind the firewall. In this case, it's running Postgres and ArcGIS Enterprise Geodatabase version 11. And the only way you can really get to the data is through the second VM, which is in the DMZ. And that's running Apache Tomcat and again, ArcGIS server. We have it set up to only allow dynamic layers, which returns images and not the data. But you can request data, but you'll only get a limited return. You can't request all the points in the world and expect to get a result back. So it makes it a little harder if somebody wants to download the data. And I guess that's because of licensing. We needed to do it that way. The application's built in Leaflet, and we have an ESRI Leaflet plugin and some additional plugins, and there's a little bit of PHP in the background. That's it. Loren, you want to talk about the data?
Sure. Yeah, this is, again, the data that's behind the map. And I'll just go through the different layers. And when you're actually in the app, you can see, happily John put under help, there's a glossary which has this information, a lot of this information, and even some other stuff too. So first of all, we thought it'd be interesting, Jiren thought it'd be good to have refugee camps, a layer of that, so they could tell maybe which recordings possibly could use in refugee camps. So we got that from the UNHCR, and there's the link to it. And that was very helpful. There's like 8,000 of them around its offices and camps. It's a bunch of stuff, really good data. Language point data came from something called the World Language Mapping System, the 2017 version. What WMS is, and what this is, it's center point of language areas and polygons showing areas where language is spoken. And again, this data set is licensed by SIL. They did give us permission to use the points on the map, these are center points of language areas. The newest points we had available were from the 2017 WMS. So we have a need to do some updates because there's some code changes and language added. So again, Mark Reichel has been doing a lot of this work. And then we get to the status of languages. This is what GIS has done. And again, when I say languages, I'm actually going to mean language variety most of the time. And because you can have a language, but then often you get dialects. Language variety is another name for dialects. But what they're very interested in is which language varieties have recordings and with recorded and which ones don't. And then the unverified layer is basically a layer where they aren't sure there's actually a language variety. But again, there might be, so at least it's listed there as a possibility. And then we go. Okay, another layer is neediest languages. And these were languages that have no Christian resources. Again, by having this layer, they can see where the greatest need languages are, because if there's no Christian resources, it's definitely a big need. There's a layer called multiple points, and this is a little, what the purpose is to help visualize the extent of languages which are spread out or scattered or on islands. It's so if you have like 3 islands with a language, you'll see there'll be a multi-point on the islands type thing. And the idea of scatter, you may have a language area on the north of the country and the south of the country. So with the multi-points, we can show that. There's new layers, media resources, that GRN has in their database. And these are resources available in languages from other organizations. And this could include things like Jesus Film, Digital Bible, recordings, and Faith Come by Hearing recordings, just other options that are out there. Then Pop Places. This again came from something called Global Ministry Mapping System. We used from the NGA, National Geospatial Agency, formerly Defense Mapping, has a huge database, and the GMI basically with the Global Ministry Mapping System took several sources, mostly that the Global Name System from the NGA, and developed a database of towns. So this is kind of a supplement to the base maps. Often the base maps give you enough information. And then we, as a data field, Joshua Project has a percent evangelical of many languages. And this is an estimate. Nobody knows for sure this stuff. So anyway, that's just the data and maps. And then I'm going to switch to, hopefully I can switch to an actual, we'll actually see, I'll demo the actual map. Okay, and hopefully now you see, oh, and hopefully you saw the URL. Sorry, I went real fast there. It's GIS-lightsys.org/GRN. I'll put that, let me put that in the chat. I went too fast past that other. Actually, that may be hard. I will put it in the chat eventually.
I'll do that.
But, okay, thank you, John. That would be helpful.
Yeah, we're not seeing, we're seeing my slide right now.
Oh, okay.
I think you got it. I think you got it. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Yeah. And I did close it already, but when you first open up the map, Alan thought it'd be very good to have a video just teaching you how to use the map, and he's creating other help videos too. So I appreciate it's good to have user viewpoint from us techie people, and just goes pretty simply how the map works type thing too. And I'll demo some of that here too, but definitely videos are worth watching too. There's a real simple one, then there's other ones. Okay, and you see there's the map on this area here, the biggest area. And to the left of that, there's a window from the Global Recordings Network website. And this will interact with particular languages you select, we'll see later. Then there's some tools on the left side, which I'll go over later, and then some tools on the right side. We have the zoom in tool, zoom out, and I'm gonna just use my mouse wheel going away from me. And you see, we start with dots. These dots are symbolize a language. The dot is a language point. And they're colored blue. The blue color means languages with recording. But if you zoom in farther, we actually size the dot according to the number of recordings. And again, this is language varieties. Like the language is a single thing, but when you get language varieties, you can have several of them. So that's why that can. And I'm going to wander over down to, I'm panning over to Nigeria, and we're going to look at Yoruba. And as you zoom in farther, you're going to start seeing like a, first there'll be a 3-letter language code. And if you zoom in farther, you'll see the language name. Let's do that. Okay, so we see Yoruba. And there's actually 7 recordings that'll pop up. And then if we click on the dot, we'll get a pop-up, which has a lot of information. Such as other known languages, and not all languages will have all this information. Names of recorded languages. The number in parentheses is a GRN number. They have a number for all the dialects and language varieties. Just there's 15 varieties that they aren't sure about those yet, and list some names, program minutes, and then links. Especially for their field people, it's good to be able to go to Glottolog, which is a good, gives extra information about languages, FLog, which also has a lot of information about FLog languages. It'll go Global Recording Network page, Joshua Project, Find the Bible. Anyway, various information fields. And we're just adding this media resource information. These are other, again, Jesus Film or other recordings available in the language. And again, if we go to the buttons here, this will just toggle the info window off and on. This will go to the Global Recording Network entry for that particular language. And you can actually play the recording, sample recording, and a whole bunch of information, other recordings and other global recording sources. And again, not all languages have this many. Yoruba happens to have a whole lot. Okay, then L here is for legend. It gives you legend. And then this is help. It has a glossary. This will have the glossary. Instructions to print the map. Eventually, we hope to make this more of a actual way to, you can actually print the map, but we haven't gotten that far. This whole map is a work in project, work in progress. And then at the very bottom, I guess I have to go close my help window first. Okay, then settings, just various, you can set tolerances here, you can point markers, you can, just various things you can connect. You actually even a little way to send feedback. You can get feedback from people from it too. Okay, so that's that information. And then one last part is these items on the right. First of all, here's the layers, is where you see all the different layers. We have a bunch of different base maps. The default is ArcGIS streets. I get that confused, but you can go to OpenStreetMap and other ones. And then here are the layers. You can take layers off and on. And I think I've talked about most of those layers already. And then some other tools. John will talk more about these later, but some sketch tools. But anyway, hopefully this gives you a little idea of what it looks like. And I'll get back to the presentation, John. And at least I'll work on doing that.
So were you going to run the?
Yeah, there we go. We should be coming back. Hopefully, can you see it now?
Yeah, next one. So, you know, this is a basic straight leaflet project, but there is some unique things about this project that I kind of wanted to go over, and that's mostly the robust ability to search for language names. If we go to the next slide, you can see here what we have going on is that there's a server in Australia run by GRN, and the one here in the US that's run by LightSys. And they need to talk to each other in order to do searches on their machine and not have to copy all of that data over to ours. In the old days, you could do this automatically, but with all of the security involved in the new web browsers, we had to put special code on so that the two can talk to each other. So we send messages back and forth and get the results that we want. So on the next slide, we went through this really quick with Loren, but you can see there when you bring up the web page, there's the home page for GRN. And then if you zoom around and click on a point, you've seen that, that it opens up some additional information. So if we go to the next slide, you'll remember it. In this case, I picked ADI ISO code, and it brought up the language. Well, the key there is it actually went with the ADI information over to the GRN server in Australia and brought up the page for that language, and then sent some information back to the browser, and then it went over to the LightSys server, and on the next page you can see that it brought up the information. So that's just I just wanted to explain a little bit about how that all works. It's going halfway around the world twice. It looks like it's pretty seamless. On the next slide, again, I just did the same thing. So you can pick the Jesus film in this case under the media resources, and it'll show the ADI language, the Jesus film in the ADI languages, or any of the other 2,000 languages that the Jesus film's in. And you can also look at the Find Out Bible link there and download the Bible in that language. So it's pretty robust if you're in the field and you need resources for a simple, for a specific language. Next slide, I guess. What do we have? This one here is more of the search capabilities. The first one is just query languages drawn under drawn polygons that I wanted to talk about real quick because that's kind of unique. I know that some of the researchers, when they go to an area, want to be able to find all the languages that are in their area. So if we go to the next slide, you can see in this case, we zoomed into an area. On the left-hand picture, you can see that there's two draw tools highlighted. I use those to create those blue polygons. And then from there, I went over to the left side and hit that one link, and it brought up all of the language information within those polygons. And eventually you'll be able to download that, but at this point, it's kind of a manual process. There's also some links on the top. So again, if I clicked on the ISO, I can't read that right now, but that language there, it'll go to the GRN server and get additional information. In this case, on the next slide, I picked the country for Indonesia. It got the GRN information from Indonesia, and then it highlighted the outline of that on the map. So look, that was just one sample. The next slide, where are we at on mine? Okay, so this is Find, and basically, again, it's kind of a more robust system than the general Leaflet application, in that you can we're using the rich database that GRN has to do most of our work. So we pull up a search page from GRN, we type in the Mayo name there, and you can see there's 45 different languages with that name in it. So if we click on one of those, it'll bring up information from both the LightSys and also from GRN for that point. And the next slide, I think, it's where I was trying to explain that you can do the same thing. You can search the LightSys database and get information from both LightSys and GRN. And you can see the multi-points there are those two pink points, which is just kind of depicting the extent of the language names. That's all we have. Let me see. Is there one more page? Let me see. Oh, the modal
videos.
stuff. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the welcome screen that pops up. This, I call it modals because that's the name of the plugin from Leaflet, basically. And you can see there's a lot more help videos that you can pick under the help window, and it'll play those videos in the modal there. And then I think the next slide is the print, which we kind of went over. So the one after that is just the example is just that I can bring up a lot of different documents. We have a frequently asked questions document under help that you can pick there. So next. And yeah, as Loren mentioned, we do want to get comments back to see how we can do things better. So if you enter your name and email, and if you scroll down on that, which you can't do on that window, up one more, Loren.
Okay. Up there.
Well,
okay.
On the review form, you can scroll down to the bottom of the review form and fill out some additional questions, and then there's a free form text. You could also enter information, and that information gets sent directly to GRN, to Alan. And then on the next slide, if you have some comments on a specific location, maybe there's a new language, or since our language information is old, it might have changed. So if you want to comment on a specific area, you can use the point draw tool there. Click on that and then click on the map. And then you can see if you highlight what you've clicked, it'll give you some help, some clues on what to do next. And that is, you can hit submit comment. When you do that, it'll get the coordinates off the map at the point that you clicked, and then you can add your comment and submit that, and it'll be emailed also. It'd be nice to have the draw tools hooked up directly to the submit comment, but those are two different plugins, and I just haven't spent the time to figure out how they would interact with each other. So, well, we'll get that eventually. And I think Alan's up next.
Yeah. So Alan, you can just, if you want to say what we're planning in the future, and I think you're unmuted, or are you muted? Let's see. Let me see if. Oh yeah, we can't hear you, Alan.
You should be able to talk now.
Oh, start hearing. Oh, we don't know.
Well, Loren, you want to just kind of go through that real quick?
Sure. Alan, do better. Let's see. Let me get back to. Okay. Yeah, basically, currently it's for this is for GRN use, other missions, non-believers, a bunch of people. The GRN use can be recordists, distributors, planners, prayers, donors, and other missions. Maybe like faith comes by hearing. There other missions may have use for this too. And for non-believers, they actually can listen to the gospel messages in their languages. You can listen right from the website, as we saw in the GRN window. And this one, Alan may know more about than I do about targeted Facebook ads. You could, again, direct people. And just some immediate additions. Expand media resources by working with other missions. Media resources was that section that showed different, beside, like it was like Jesus Film, Faith Comes by Hearing, other recordings, not just GRN, other ones. But we'd like to expand that by working other missions. Doing a search by city or state, province. We can do country ones and language, but we can't do, currently can't do city state. And then another one's hover over a point to show language names, have a "you are here" marker, and then automatically turn off layers when new ones selected. Like one thought was have maybe people want to just see refugee camps by themselves, and if that could automatically turn language ones to avoid clutter. And feature, these are wish lists, even farther beyond. Offline mapping, we do have something called, there's something, you make a, with ArcGIS Pro, you can make a mobile map package, and that actually maybe, it won't be using this website app here, but we found that actually, you can actually, anyway, that could be an option there for offline mapping, and we maybe integrate this too. Pie chart for language stats, a layer list for word lists, because again, translators are, getting word lists are very important to translators. And then a layer for language varieties. Currently we have just a point for the language, but again, maybe somehow we can indicate dialects too, locations of dialects, like something to represent dialects. And then last thing, just utilize markups from paper maps. Again, how people can have that data. Okay, that is it. So let me stop sharing, and I guess if y'all have any questions, feel free to ask. And hopefully, Alan, maybe we can get you talking. Well, anyway, feel free to ask any questions. Oh, I guess people are muted, and I guess you'll probably have to either unmute yourself or raise your hand. I wonder if, oh, maybe I can I control muting? Yeah, Juliana, I don't think was able to stay around, so we're kind of.
Loren, I can unmute myself at the top.
Okay, that's probably easier than me trying to figure out. Okay, thank you, Esther. Yeah. And that's good. That, yeah. So yeah, you can, if you have a question or something, just feel free to unmute yourself too. And
I
if
just want
you
to
can
say
put
hats off.
Questions.
Hats off to you, team. That is a huge amount of work to coordinate, and many different aspects and lots of moving parts, and just wonderful job. It looks great. I know it's going to be useful to a lot of people.
Thanks, Matt, and thank you guys at SL for helping with the language part of that. And yeah, as we mentioned before, this is a work in progress. So in fact, it's, I think we've taken about 1.5 years, I think, or 1 3/4 years to get this far, and we've had ups and downs along the way. But it's nice. It was just nice to finally have a map we can show on the screen and people can actually see it. We've gotten some first round feedback from Global Recording Network people, so we tried to incorporate some of that stuff. And again, bless John. I appreciate John's ability with ArcGIS Enterprise and Leaflet. I do not know. I just know they come up on my map and look nice, but I don't know the guts behind those things. Yeah. So I guess we can give God praise, just that we all have different, God's given us different abilities and skills in the body too. So. Oh, while I think of it, let me do this. One announcement to give is that, again, the user conference is coming up very shortly, and we are planning a Monday lunch meeting at 12:45. That'd be after the morning session, and it's room 27AB. We'll announce that a few more times, but again, and we're still figuring some details out, but we'll probably introduce the 6-person facilitating team briefly, brief description of what the group is, because may be new people there, but a lot of it will be just people. There'll be some announcements from folks. We probably will try and get those ahead of time, and then mostly will be just sharing. We'll probably just break into groups and have people meet each other, so it'll be a chance then. And sorry for folks who can't get to the conference, but anyway, that's what we're planning. Yeah. Oh, and then yeah, we're taking the summer off webinars, so in September we'll plan to get back to those too. So okay, back to any questions or I could let's see. I wonder if you could demo anything else. Let me go back to I didn't show interactive multi-point, so let me go back to that.
Yeah, I think you could do a little more. If people want to hang around, you could. It's totally up to them, but you could do a little more of an interactive demo. I know we didn't do a lot on that.
Yeah. Let's see. And let me actually show you just so. Oh, actually, no. I was going to do the pop-up, but this won't work with share screen because the thing would pop up in different tabs, so you won't see it. But anyway, the pop-ups do go to the page for the particular website. Let me let's see. Find a multi-point. Oh, I could. Okay, for example, I only had recordings on. Unrecorded languages are like shown by red X's. And again, you can, if you just want to see unrecorded languages, you can turn off recorded languages, and then these are the unrecorded languages. And then again, same thing with unverified. And we tried to nest the symbols so you can kind of see there's something there. It gets a little tricky with the unverified. Neediest languages tend to be places, of course, be a place without recording, so at least those come out pretty good. Because again, the neediest languages are languages where there's not a recording. There's no Christian resources in that language. Let's see, let me clean up and some of these layers we have, whoops, keep some on. As you zoom in, like you don't see refugee camps now, we have some layers, they just get real cluttered. Oh, there they are, I guess you do see them now. Anyway, that's kind of why like if you zoom out, you aren't going to see them, because if you would, it'd be a big blob. Or in some places, unfortunately, Nigeria has a bunch of refugee camps. And again, these are offices. Sometimes it's, yeah. But anyway, there's a whole lot of them. I sure appreciate the UN for having that map service. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Let's go back to multiple points. I'm going to turn on the layer just to see where some are. Okay, they're shown by, again, this circle and dot. Let's zoom into an area here. Okay, Ohasa is a good example. Let's see, degree, Coulomb. Okay, I'm going to turn off multi-points. If you do click on a language, John has it, so actually it'll zoom to the full language extent. And if they're in other countries, sometimes it'll even show the whole country. But again, the multi-points, you can realize that there's probably an area here of the language of the Coulomb, and then there's some here. So that's the purpose of the multi-points, to give a little idea of the extent of that language. It takes Mark some time. Mark was doing the work, so we only maybe have about 6-7 countries done with the multi-point so far, because as we've been cleaning up the languages, he's been doing the multi-point work, and he can only work part-time on this project too, so that limits that. Okay, what else can I show? Oh, yeah, different maze maps. We could, if you wanted to get imagery in the back of that, you can do that. Oh, here we go with the language names kicking in. And again, I kind of like the OpenStreetMap. It's streets, I think it is. One of them actually have it's real good if you're from a certain country, because it'll, like if you go to the Arabic speaking countries, it puts names in Arabic, which is fabulous for people from that country. And you get pretty good detail with OpenStreetMap, except probably not in where the desert is. And this is OpenStreetMap. Again, it even gets down to streets. I just love it. As far as, I think that's my favorite base map to use. And that's that. Let's see. Let me show the popular places. That again only kicks in very zoomed in. There they are. And since they are from the global name system, there, some of those may not be towns. They're cleaning it up, I know, but again, we took a very about 10-year-old version of it, so they've gotten a lot cleaner than what we have. But so you can see a few more towns.
There is a map service from ESRI that we can be pulling in. It's just that I haven't gotten to that yet.
Yeah, and a lot of this is just figuring out what we should do. Yeah, with the thing. Okay, let's see. And again, let's just turn a bunch of stuff. There we go. Unrecorded, unverified. And two, if you just want to see, yeah. I think. Well, that's. Oh, others. Again, the light gray. If you want to clean out, don't have any distracting background stuff. If you just do the light gray base map, that kind of clean things up too. Let's see. I think can't think of much else to share.
I think that's it.
Okay. But again, feel free to play. Like John put the link in the thing if you want to play. If you want to comment on it, and probably, of course, I think with Alan, I think we're favoring comments from GRN above other comments, but still. It'd be interesting to hear from other folks. Yeah, okay. Well, let's see. Again, thank you all for coming. And I guess, why don't we, maybe John, why don't we put our emails in the chat in case somebody wants to talk to us later. Oops. Spell check in the chat. Oh, and yeah, and our budget for this is actually, well, we're blessed with the software, but we all work on the like John's a volunteer and I'm on support. So anyway, God takes care of those needs. But see how again, I appreciate having the skills that we have around.
There is one question in the chat there from Isabel, I guess, and that is, can you view the map in other languages than English? Yes and no. I haven't even considered other languages during my programming, but I know if you go to Chrome, you can set your language, and it should bring up at least the wording that's printed up in different languages, but it won't change the maps and all. I mean, obviously we can go to pick a map layer like the OpenStreetMaps that does display some information as far as the place names in their native language, but I'm not sure. I'm real glad that to talk about this because it's kind of above my pay grade here. I'm not sure I know how to do too much more with different languages other than use the Google plugins.
Yeah, and this is just OpenStreetMap. It's nothing we did as far as the different language. Yeah, it's like John said. Yeah.
I'm sure Alan will want that now that we thought about it.
Okay. Yeah, if you have questions come up, actually, if you want to help, we sure don't mind having more people to help. But again,
the main way we can help is if we can all share data so we can get a better product for everybody. So. Yeah,
and I think GRN definitely is open to language sharings, and they do have researchers in different countries, many different countries too. Alan, why don't you put your email in chat too? Why don't you do that in case they want to get hold of you? And that the chat would be that the little it's the left button. If you go to the top of the screen, you'll see a buttons in the chat button, you know. Okay, and anything else? Yeah, but again, thank you all for. Oh, and we are recording this, so we hope to have it available. Oh, well, that's weird. let's see, I don't think it took. I see your name, Alan, but I don't see your email there.
So do you mind if I put it in? Can I put it in?
Why don't you put it? Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Oh, there. Oh, I'm sorry. It just came. I'm sorry. Oh, is it? Yeah. Okay. Is it .net, Alan? Is this .net? I'm sorry. I thought it's not work. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Okay. Anyway, thanks for listening to us, and feel free to again share this with other people, and if it's useful, great. And of course, any prayers are sure welcome too. And again, there are other folks. Again, SAL works with languages, and I know SAL is looking for more mapping people too. So there are in fact, I think if you talk to any mission agency, you'll probably find they're looking for people. So but again, often unfortunately, there's a time commitment involved and stuff too. But anyway, we're sure. Yeah. Well, I guess we could probably just end our session. But thank you all for coming. And again, if you're at the user conference, definitely feel free to come and be part of lunch too. Okay. Well, again, so thank you. Okay. Okay. I'll see you all.